we're going to present a comparison between the cultural products of Donald Duck cartoon First Face versus the Doctors from the Looney Tunes. Our team is Mauricio Gutierrez, Rafael Hernández, Octavio Díaz, and me, Juan Pablo Rodriguez. The context of the cartoons was about the World War II and the anti-Nazi propaganda for the United States in order to make them superior and better country than Germany, Italy, and Japan. The cartoon Donald Duck cartoon First Face was created in 1943 by Walt Disney Productions. This cartoon was used as propaganda for the United States during the time of the Second World War. This cartoon was well received by the people due to the message it provided, the production, and the comedy it had. The effect that this cartoon had was that it was banned in Russia because it was inciting hatred and enmity. The cartoon, The Dictators from the Looney Tunes, was created in 1942 by Leo Schlesinger and directed by Norma McCabe. As same as the other cartoon, it was used as anti-Nazi propaganda for the United States. Its main purpose was to make a bad impression of the enemy and make people to hate them. At the end, it worked since the population used the cartoon to make fun of them. This cartoon was well received by the population due to its production and comedy as well. These cartoons are related to that topic because they made a great impact of propaganda during the Second World War by making the enemy countries inferior to the United States of America.
We have a compare and contrast table that, well, it has both cartoons. They have similarities, such as they are both cartoons. They are both American propaganda that involve the US government. They are both directly related to World War. They have fascist dictators, involve abuse of powers, involve inspiration of fear, and have a negative vision of the fascist ideology and how positive view of the American ideology. They have differences, such as the Donald Duck future space was all a dream. Donald Duck future space expressed the relief of living in the US and the love of it. The Dictators, they tried to sell the stamps at the end of the publicity. And in Cartoon the Dictators, the war was over. And it also explained how Hitler moved and encouraged people to join him. We can analyze that during both of cultural products, Donald Duck cartoon future space and the Dictators from the Looney Tunes, they were made by eras of society and politics. They were both created by American form of a propaganda campaign, in which both talk about the World War I and the events that proceeds from World War II. Donald Duck's cartoon Future Space states how Hitler starts the war and expresses the relief of living in the US and the love of having it, because at the end it was all a dream, the American dream. In the Dictator's Face, they explain how Hitler moved and encouraged people to join this movement, and how he abused his power and inspired fear. Since both cartoons are made by the US, they are both trying to sell the American dream and how they were involved for good in the war. Therefore, we can admit that both cartoons really capture the idea and both of them have the same topic but with different details and perspectives. In our personal opinion, we believe that these campaigns are really creative and entertaining for the public, and it's a smart way to promote your country and what you believe and stand for.
From of the context, both propaganda cartoons were made in the years 1942 and 1943, meaning that World War II was actively happening. Germany and Italy were actively expanding to other countries, causing each time more instability in Europe. Democracies such as the United Kingdom continued to survive and fight back. Imperial Japan was continuing to expand its influence and military power on the Korean Peninsula, China, and in the Pacific Islands. The Axis alliance was created between the three fascist countries. In the other side, the Allies joined together against the Axis. The United States mainly in the Pacific and the USSR in the UK in Europe. It's important to remember how before the Pearl Harbor attacks from Japan to the US in Hawaii, that the US had an anti-war involvement policy. Therefore, it decided to first focus in the internal issues than in the international ones. Short after it declared war in Japan, Germany declared it back to the US, involving it completely on the conflict. In this cartoon, the political interpretation. In this cartoon is a critic to fascism and the relationship with its people, economy, and military. Donald Duck is seemed to force by the army to assemble bullets, and they represent the government's control over all aspects of their citizens and their priority on developing the military. It's important to take into account that the US has a democratical system and the faces were dictatorships, meaning that the political and social freedoms were completely different. This is comparison was used for the propaganda by the Americans since the animation associates the viewer Germany equals slavery and torture, and America capitalism equals liberty and economic freedom. Overall, this is a propaganda cartoon can be described as a fight between two governments and two ideologies.
Social interpretation. The cartoon invokes American patriotism within the social society of the time the cartoon was created and encouraged the purchase of war bonds. In the cartoon, Donald lives apparently in a nightmare where Nazi is forced to produce artillery shells in extremely bad conditions. At the end, it wakes up in a dream, very thankful and proud of living in the US. The producer has the intention of transmitting the cartoon and its message to a society by taking them identified and generate a great impact. This is all in Donald's Duck cartoon. In the Doctors, this cartoon imagines World War II as a conflict in a vanguard. It makes Hitler, Mussolini, and Emperor Hirohito to be notable and bad political moral leader. As a consequence, it also makes their citizens, mostly German, Italian, and Japanese heritage, easy targets for damage and dehumanizes them with and outside the film. It also creates stereotypes with dialogue and the items, and also the way the animators drew their faces and body types of the animals representing several countries. The cartoon was propaganda of the United States government in World War II, and it made sense to contact one of the biggest companies in animation to get the message of the enemy as demoniac and America as a hero in the war by showing these cartoons in movie theaters across the country. As well, it helped the government to raise money through selling war bonds, as the cartoon was a plug for purchasing war bonds at the end.
Finally, we can conclude this video with the fact that these propaganda cartoons are a reflection of how fascism was viewed in America.